It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielson and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Friday episode of The Oil Stream. It's Nielson and Gazzola back with you, talking some Oilers here, early September. As always, it's brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. If you are listening to the podcast, thank you very much for downloading. Tell your friends about it. If you're watching on the live stream, find the podcast on all your podcasting platforms. Popeye's has 12 locations, 7 of them in Edmonton. The nuggets, the sandwich, delicious fries and sides as well. Tommy, what's up, buddy?
Not much, Dusty. Very much looking forward to the weekend. I watched the Facebook video from 1260 on the big board. I thought that was hilarious and fitting that Rishaug and Civilian Rishaug get 2 and 3 respectively overall in the placement to run Kyler Yamamoto out of town. I like how you, by the way, graciously, took a bullet and just went first on the big board. So well done. I laughed at that video quite a bit. Lieutenant Eric adding the spice and pizzazz he always does. Well done, boys.
I figured if anybody was going to run Yamamoto out of town, it might as well be me at the top. And you know how some of our media friends can be a little emotional at times. I figured if I take that bullet at the top, if I get a text message saying, "Hey, I heard you're trying to run me out of town," I say, "Listen, man, I was at the top of the list. Calm down." So hey, we'll see. We'll see how it how it works.
Not running him out.
Tommy, before we get into any of this Oilers stuff, did you listen to the new Drake album that dropped today?
Was that Donda? No, Donda is Kanye, right? So the answer is clearly no. I don't care for Drake. I don't care for Kanye. I'm sure it's through osmosis. I'll hear a bunch of it. Is it good?
I don't know.
Am I missing something?
Yaremchuk told me he got up at 7 a.m. just to listen to it today.
Yeah,
so we're in different spots right now.
We really are. Yes, he would definitely get up at 7 a.m. to listen to it. Was he wearing his Yeezys? Is that Kanye or is that Drake? I don't even know.
I don't. All I know is that Lil Baby is on this album, as opposed to Da Baby, which is a little bit different, apparently.
Not to be confused. Da Baby's tight with James Harden. Remember, James Harden for his birthday when he was breaking COVID protocols dropped a Louis Vuitton bag full of honey buns, which for those of us that don't know or had to look it up, honey buns are stacks of 100K in the baby's birthday present. So that's cool. That's
pretty nice. Actually.
I wouldn't mind
good.
a birthday present like that. Mine's in a couple of weeks here. So
I'll get you some honey buns. How's that sound, Tommy?
I like that very much. I appreciate it. That's why you're a great friend.
All right, so the NHL is sending its players to the Olympics, which means Connor McDavid will get to represent Canada in a best on best. It's very exciting for the country. Obviously, very exciting for Oilers fans. Tommy, you start to speculate on this roster. I think a lot of the guys are pretty obvious to be locked in. But who do you think would be the 2 ideal line mates for Connor in a Canadian uniform?
Okay, I really like Nathan McKinnon with him. Honestly, I think that those two would be dynamic together. They're both 2 of the best players in the world. McDavid, the better of the 2. Let's just be clear about that. McKinnon a little bit behind him, but still right up there. And then I would like to see a left shot up there with him. I know Chris Johnston from Sportsnet had Mitch Marner up there. I don't particularly care for that. So I was thinking, I'm like, who is a good left shot Canadian player? And I don't mind the idea of Taylor Hall. I don't know if Taylor Hall is going to be in the mix.
There's zero chance he'd make this team.
Yeah.
No way.
I don't know. I know that's kind of like, he better have a damn good season if he wants to even throw himself into the mix. So would you put like a Brad Marchand with him? Do you think that would work? Because I really like having at least one other left shot there with McDavid. And then maybe you could put them on their off wings with the righty and work it that way. So Marchand can finish. So can McKinnon. And then McDavid is just a wizard out there. So I would go with those 3. Marchand, McKinnon, McDavid as a line. I like that. I don't think you can go wrong with many
line. I 100% agree with McKinnon. If McDavid and McKinnon, and I know you're nothing against Sidney Crosby and some of these other guys who'll be there, but McDavid and McKinnon are your 2 most dynamic players, in my opinion, in the league. So they're going to be the 2 most dynamic players on this team. So maybe you would like to see them on separate lines, but not me. I want to see McKinnon on his right. And I'm going to actually take who I think and nothing against Marchand because I think he can fit in wherever you want to put him.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take who I think is the most skilled natural left winger. That's Jonathan Huberto. I'm going to throw Huberto up on the left side. He can absolutely fly as well. I think if Huberto played in Toronto or Montreal, we'd be viewing him in a little bit of a different status than we do because he plays for the Florida Panthers. But Huberto's an absolute stud. So I think I'd go Huberto, McDavid, and McKinnon. But I'm very interested to see if they actually play McKinnon and McDavid together or apart.
Yeah.
And what if this would be crazy? And I'd like to see it, I guess, in a power play. But Crosby with McDavid and McKinnon? Ugh.
Wow.
That would be something else, man. That would be nuts.
And crazy to think, Crosby would be the guy scoring the garbage goals on that line.
I know.
Isn't that insane? And he's good at it. Like, he's amazing at garbage goals. And he out of those three, you're like, well, he's the more meat and potatoes out of those three.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sid, you got to go to the front of the net, man. Pound home some goals. Those other two are better than you. And we're going to let them do the skill stuff and handle the puck mostly.
That would be crazy.
The way she goes. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Let me go grind these in here for you, boys.
Yeah.
It's going to be great, though. I mean, McKinnon and McDavid in their prime on this team together or not, it should be absolutely fascinating. It's going to be good. So looking forward. We were hoping it was going to happen, kind of speculating that it was going to happen for a long time, and it looks like it finally will for these players to be back in the Olympics, best on best for the 2022 Olympics in Beijing. Tommy, Kyler Yamamoto, we saw a couple of different guys. Middlestad gets that 3-year, 2.5. Farabee got a pretty big deal. And I know some folks have kind of linked the two. I think there's zero chance Yamamoto gets that deal anyway.
No.
So what's the latest on Yamamoto, and what do you think of like Middlestad as a comparable maybe?
Well, Middlestad compared to Farabee is a more tolerable approach. But even still, like, I don't think Yamo, with everything that's gone on in the last year, has the ground to stand on to get that kind of money in this next contract. And then the Farabee thing too, Dusty, is like Farabee has another year left on his deal. The Oilers need to get Yamamoto signed right now for this year with a limited amount of money. That's a big factor. And then Farabee's on the upswing, right? Like 30-goal pace last year. He's on the up and up. Yamo's on the decline after what happened last year. So, again, little leverage for Kyler Yamamoto. And I think this next contract is a prove-it contract. Yes, his numbers overall over the course of his NHL career are similar to Farabee's, but I think these are two guys in two different situations, and that'll dictate part of how this plays out. And then on top of that, just the latest I heard on Yamamoto was, as of a couple of days ago, they were at a stalemate. So,
okay,
surprise, like, it's not a shock. And then the Farabee contract doesn't do the Oilers any favors. Although, again, I think, we're kind of comparing apples to oranges in a certain extent. Situations are different. One guy, not a lot of leverage to stand on. Farabee coming off for outstanding seasons. So, I don't know. Where do you come out on this?
Well, I mean, the Middlestad one is the first time that I thought, oh, man, they might have to give him more than 2 to get him done, because Middlestad hasn't done much more than Yamamoto at this stage of his career, and he managed to get a 3-year commitment at 2.5 mil. So that one was the first time I sat back and I was like, damn, like that's one that might actually hurt the Oilers and Ken Holland in this situation. But at the same time, they don't have to give Yamamoto what Middlestad got just because Middlestad got it. I mean, they're not in a position really to do that. So it's a little troubling to hear what you just said, and the fact that you've heard that it's at a stalemate right now, because, I mean, how long, what does a stalemate mean? To me, in my mind, and I haven't Googled the meaning of stalemate, but for me, a stalemate means they're not talking right now. Like, both sides are kind of drawing a hard line in the sand, and it's almost like a game of chicken to see who's going to give in. It's September 3rd. You got 2 or 3 weeks to get this thing done, but stalemate isn't the best thing to hear right now, especially because, I mean, what is Yamamoto and his camp standing on their side of the stalemate? Like, what are you pointing out to the Oilers that you were on a line 2 years ago that went on like an unsustainably unbelievable run for 27 games. And outside of that, you've been an average producer at best so far. So it fascinates me how Yamamoto's going to play this out, because if training camp opens and Yamamoto's not there, that is a massive, massive mistake for that guy. I can't fathom that those around him would support that. Like, there's got to be a deal done here in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. How many times throughout the course of history in the National Hockey League, when a young guy holds out, misses time in training camp, does that guy look way behind the 8 ball when he finally gets into the lineup and not even caught up, just playing, but still behind? I remember Nylander a couple of years ago in Toronto. Like,
he's a great player.
Absolutely. So that is key. I think that's number one. Make sure he's on the ice for day one of training camp on the 21st, 22nd. I know they're going to report for medicals and physicals, all that stuff. 21st, I believe it is. And make sure you're up and running. Like, don't miss time. That's the worst thing. Especially if you end up with a prove it contract, if you miss any time, you are screwed. Generally, history dictates that. Stats dictate that. So yeah, you got to be there for camp. But as of a couple of days ago, Dusty, stalemate between the two sides, and it could have changed in the last day or two. Who knows? That part I'm not too sure about. I just know that last word was a stalemate, and that was a couple days ago.
Last thing you want as a guy who's this early into his career and this unproven still, really, to know that there's a shot there again, right along Leon Draisaitl when camp opens. And if you're not there, somebody else is going to get that opportunity. So that would trouble me a little bit. That's why if we're having this conversation on September 17th, Tommy, then it's time to really figure out what the hell's going on. There's still some time here right now, but hearing that it's at a stalemate isn't obviously ideal, especially since I've got a great list of PTOs that are going to come in and try to steal a job up front. Tommy, you went D heavy plus chase on Wednesday. So I decided to just stick to forwards today. And if you're watching right now and you want to see who Tommy's 5 PTOs were, just download that episode of the podcast. Search the Oil Stream on our podcasting platforms, and it'll be PTOs part 1 or something like that is what we called it. So
a couple of things about that. There's some great responses. Like when you did the Oil Stream in 60, the reply, I think it was Nick Cosentino who tweets in, texts in, listens to the shows and stuff. Did the Michael Scott, no. With the chase on suggestion. And then another person's like, boy, Tom, really enthused about your list of PTOs, huh? I was like, it was an interesting exercise. Anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing yours, and I can just kind of be on the sidelines and kind of nod and be polite about it.
It's not exciting. It's not realistic. Same sort of exercise you went through as well here, I think, Tommy. But I do think there will be a forward that does get an invite here somewhere. Yeah, sure. So I'm going to start with a guy that I think could be a possibility and kind of pick up where you left off by bringing Chase on back. I'll go with Tyler Ennis. I mean, I look at Tyler Ennis. He's had to deal with some injuries during his abbreviated time here with the Oilers. I think that's a guy who at this stage of his career, doesn't get impacted by having to sit out and wait for his opportunity. And then when he has an opportunity, I think he can pretty much slot in wherever you need him to in your lineup, which would be pretty handy. I mean, if let's say McLeod doesn't pan out, or you bring in another center and McLeod has to play the wing and it's not going well, you want to mix in Tyler Ennis for a few games on the wing, it's not the end of the world. So I would have time for Ennis on a PTO, see how he looks. You're very familiar with him. And you know what? When he did get on the ice, I liked what I saw from Tyler Ennis when he was here. He
had a good stretch of games. Who was he with? Was it Kara and Shore where Ennis was a part of that line for a little bit?
So.
I think. And they look good. He was very creative with the puck, obviously confident with the puck, making plays happen. And the other two played more of an honest, greasy game, big man hockey. And it worked for that small, I think it was like a week and a half window. And so here's a guy, hometown boy, probably has enjoyed his time in orange and blue, although, the tough injury a couple of years ago, last year not playing every day, but good soldier, good guy, comes from a good family. And I don't think a lot of people had any problem with him being a part of the team. So PTO doesn't mean you get any money, doesn't mean you get a contract. Why not?
I think it was a White Mud West kid too. and my kids are White Mud West kids.
Oh.
So I've got a tie to that now. Like I'll probably have a coaching jacket that says White Mud West. So he's one of our own. We gotta see if we can bring him back here, Tommy. Okay. I've got 3 other sort of shots in the dark that I wouldn't mind seeing, but Tyler Bozak's another one that I would look at as a veteran right shot center. I think last year. Well, first of all, what did you think of McLeod last year? What did you like when you watched McLeod last year? Did you say ready, full-time NHLer at the beginning of this year? Because it looks like with him and Ryan, and you can slide Shore over if you need to in the middle or whatever, Nuge if necessary, if the wing really looks good. I liked some of what I saw from McLeod, but I'm not sure I'm ready to 100% say lock this dude in the middle, especially because that's a big job.
Yeah, it is a big job. I mean, generally, I liked what I saw from him. I was very impressed with his confidence with the puck. He looked like when he did touch it and get those touches, he was making things happen. The only problem was, Dusty, and this is kind of why they called him up, is he has some offensive jam, and he had 0 offensive jam in the NHL last year. He got 1 assist. It didn't seem to generate a lot in the offensive zone, and that's the one area where I'm like, you probably need a little bit more than what he was able to provide. Like, he didn't get any great scoring chances. That concerned me. He set up a couple of guys really nice. Took him a few games to get his first shot, I think, or he only had 1 shot through a couple of games. And those parts of it were concerning. But here's the other thing, though, is if he's coming in this year, inside track to a regular everyday lineup spot, maybe he has that confidence, and then now having played that dozen NHL games, being a year older, probably worked on some things in the offseason, a little bit stronger, whatever. He's a big guy. Maybe that mental hurdle in the offensive zone is behind him, and he goes in with this confidence and does start playing like the player that we saw in Bakersfield last year that put together a really good season.
Yeah, when I saw him last year, I thought this guy's going to play for the Oilers for a long, long, long time. And if he comes into camp and looks like he did last year, I have no problem giving him the 3rd, 4th line center, however you want to divide up him and Derek Ryan. I just think from a PTO perspective, it might be okay to get a look at another veteran guy just to have him around in case you go, you know what, let's play McLeod on the wing for a little bit if need be, just to help him kind of work into the NHL a little bit, maybe get him a little bit more involved physically. And then, eventually I think he is going to be their 3rd line center for a long time. So is it just to get thrust into that right now? So I think because of that, I think Bozak as a veteran right shot center, get a look at him on a PTO if he can still play and he's got no other options, maybe get him on a cheap deal. And then I got 3 guys who I don't even know where they would fit. You're right. This list it's not ideal right now, which is why I'd be shocked if there's more than one. And at this point, I might be a little surprised if there even is one. But I'll give you these 3 guys together. You can tell me which one you would like the most. Jimmy Vesey, Alex Galchenyuk, and Nikita Gusev, who had a sick rookie year 2 years ago and then completely fell off, was bought out, signed with Florida, and actually put up a few points in Florida. But of those 3 guys, is there one that you would have time for at least seeing in camp? You can say no if you want.
Well, yeah, I think my kind of resonates that a little bit. But I think if you're looking at what the Oilers probably need, and that's kind of a bottom 6 guy, if anything, they have a bunch of anyway, I guess I'd look at Jimmy Vesey.
Yeah.
I know he bounced around a little bit last year. Galchenyuk was a work in progress, a project that Toronto took on. I think he played for 14 teams last season. And I don't know. His time in the NHL might be done. I don't know how many more chances you get. And then Gusev, a lot of hype, but no show. Nothing to show for it outside of what you said from a couple of years ago. So I don't know. Maybe VC.
If Yamamoto doesn't have a contract by the time camp starts, I would bring in one of these guys just as a threat. And say, oh, you're not going to be here? Well, guess what? Alex Galchenyuk's playing with Leon Draisaitl right now, and he's on a PTO.
Wait. We would see so many tweets and texts saying, what is going on? You're wasting Draisaitl with Galchenyuk. And I would look and read those and be like, good point. That's true. That is very true.
I thought Galchenyuk with the Leafs had a few moments. I've had a few moments where I thought this dude could still play. But, I mean, we'll see how it sorts out for all these guys. Sean, who's watching, he's asking about Eric Stahl. And the reason I didn't put Eric Stahl on the list is because I don't think Eric Stahl would be interested in coming up here, Tommy. Is that fair? I looked at him.
Fair point.
And I was like, you know what? I like the idea of Eric Stahl, but I don't know if Eric Stahl is going to come up here and play bottom six for the Oilers.
Yeah, and wasn't he reluctant to even go to Buffalo last year? I think he was. He went. But
you get to a point where do you want to keep playing or not, right?
Yeah, and you're right. I think that would factor in. He might not want to even bother if the Oilers threw him a flyer and they weren't going to guarantee him money or playing time or anything like that. Probably say no. That's my guess.
There we go. There's 5 more unattractive PTOs for you. Outside, I mean, I could see Ennis. I wouldn't mind seeing Ennis on a PTO and see what he can do there. You know what? I would like to see Tyler Ennis one day in a Spengler Cup in his like mid-30s playing in Switzerland and come play in the Spengler. I think that'd be great. That
would be. Are you already planning your trip to Davos?
Still up in the air. I think I'm going, but it might be I guess I haven't heard yet if we're going to be broadcasting it like off a TV screen or if we're actually going to be there. I don't want to. I mean, I'll do it, but I'd rather call the Spengler from Volant Arena in Davos, Switzerland. So we'll see. We'll see how that one goes over. All right, Tommy. Big plans for the long weekend or what, man?
You know what? I think I wanted to keep it a little bit more on the DL, but Cam Moon and I are supposed to get together for some bevies tonight. Mooner's a beauty, a good north side Edmonton Maple Leaf like me. And so we've been talking like, hey, we got to go for drinks and kind of, tell some old stories and all of that. So Mooner and I probably hang out tonight. And then we're going to be watching you on Monday. The Gazzolas are throwing a little Labor Day Classic barbecue. So the whole family is getting together on the big screen. We're going to watch you and eat some pork and beef product and consume copious amounts of alcohol and just have a nice little time.
Now the pressure's on. The Gazzolas are watching. It's bad enough I got the Holtz watching, the whole Holt family on Sunday. Lieutenant Eric threatened me. He goes, you better be careful what you say because Ron is going to be watching and you're going to frustrate him. I said, well, we'll see how it goes. So, it's looking forward to Labor Day weekend. It should be good. You're in for me on Tuesday morning because I'm not getting back to late Monday night. So have a good show on Tuesday. Mooner is a big-time Nielsen show listener, so he'll probably have some chirps for you from your hosting, which will be fun. So
he is outstanding. He's such a good dude, great broadcaster. Glad to have him in the fold as the Edmonton media family.
He's a beauty, no doubt about it. All right, so that's going to do it for another episode of the Oil Stream. As you heard from Tommy Gazzola, first right here, September 3rd, Oilers and Yamamoto at a stalemate. Dun, 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 dun. Tommy, have a good weekend, buddy. We'll talk soon, man.
You too, Dusty. Thanks.